guys, thanks for stopping by to check out today's video. Obviously I look a little bit more bundled up than what you're probably used to seeing me, and that's because it's fall here in Wisconsin, and we had a major cold snap come through. Last night, right around midnight I think, was when we hit our high temp for the day, and the air temps were probably in the 60s or low 60s. Throughout the day today, the temperature has been plummeting. Right now it's about 40 degrees. We have 15 to 20 mile an hour winds. On my way home from work today, I saw some sleet. I saw some little baby snowflakes. So who knows what's gonna happen out here on the water, but you know what? You always gotta give it a chance. You never know what's gonna happen. Today is one of those days though where I don't feel overly confident just because it's such a cold front coming through, but sometimes later in the year, those big cold fronts like that, instead of turning the fish off like they do in the summer, it actually turns them on just because they need to feed up, and it's kind of like kicking them in the behind as a reminder that, hey, winter's right around the corner, you need to feed up. So hopefully it's one of those instead of the other way around, but I guess you guys just have to stay tuned to find out. Here's a shocker. I'm the only one at the landing today. Oh, go figure. Definitely not a big guy, but that's a good way to start. I just started a few minutes ago and already have one on the boat, so that's a pretty good sign. Okay, so I'm not sure if the camera's actually picking it up at all or not, but as I've been out here, there have been little tiny snowflakes coming down on occasion. You see them, but the last couple seconds here picked up just a little bit. Maybe you can see them against my dark jacket. Just had a couple go past here, but I am actually bass fishing in the snow. It's cold enough that it's snowing up here. Water temps though are actually pretty decent. They're about 55, 56 degrees, better than what I thought they were going to be, especially since it's been a few weeks since I've been on this lake. Last time I think it was 61 or 62, so it really hasn't dropped all that much. Hopefully we can get a few more to bite here and make it a good day. Guy's not that big, but he thinks he is. Not a whole lot bigger than the first one, but that one's at least a keeper. Another one on that spinnerbait though, with a big blade on it. That cool water, the extra vibration on it, being able that you can move it slower than your average bait. I think that really helps attract these guys. I think this guy's a northern though. No, it's not. It's actually a nice bass. We are slowly moving in the right direction. That one came off a little bit of a rock point, a little off the bank, but you know, right now I've fished a little bit deeper, but most of these fish have come out of 2-3 feet of water. So it's kind of weird. It's fishing in the snow and you got fish in 2 and 3 feet of water, but so far that's what we're doing. So we'll see if that keeps up and if we can get a few more. A little better fish here. That one felt like a giant after those other ones. Probably about 16, 17 at least. Okay, my eyes were a little small. It's 18 and a half. Definitely a nice one. Moved up this little hump, this little offshore, not way out anywhere, but comes up to 3 or 4 feet on top. About that same water depth, and there's a bunch of stumps. So apparently it must have moved up top on that. And that's the result. That one came on a little square bill. So after catching that first fish and unhooking it and everything, I thought I pushed the record button to get on my camera. Apparently I didn't push it hard enough or something because it wasn't recording during that next fish catch. And about 5 casts later, I caught the fish that you see on the left there. It's a little bit longer, a little bit heavier, as you can see. It's thicker in the picture. So for me, it was really good that I went out and gave that hump a shot and ended up providing the 2 biggest fish of the day. All right, guys, so fishing this time of year, half the battle a lot of times is just staying warm enough that you can actually fish. I've fished in colder than 40 degrees. 40 degrees is pretty cold though, especially when you get a good wind going. I've been lucky. I've been able to stay out of it for most of the time I've been out here, but it was howling earlier. It was blowing 15, 20 miles an hour. Right now it does seem like it's kind of starting to calm down, but you know, you get that cold temp plus that wind and it feels really cold, especially on any exposed skin. One thing I like to do, try to keep the hands warm, wear little half-finger gloves. It still allows me to have the dexterity to my fingers, you know, to tie, to feel something, you know, grab a hook and pop it out, whatever. But it does add quite a bit of warmth to your hands. Another thing, make sure you dress in layers. So I've got a couple long sleeve shirts on underneath here, a sweatshirt, and the liner for my winter jacket that actually zips into my rain gear. Another thing is, you know, the rain gear a lot of times you see me wearing, it's not because it's wet out here. The little tiny snowflakes aren't doing anything, but it blocks the wind, and blocking that wind off your body is huge. I've got long johns on underneath my jeans. If I fished in the wind a little bit more, I'd have my bibs on too just to block it, but right now my legs aren't too bad. I have electric socks on because I didn't want to go digging for boots because I wasn't going to be out here too long, but boots could be a good idea as well. And then something for your head. Another little invention that I got here is this little Zippo pocket hand warmer. It runs on lighter fluid and gets pretty warm and stays warm for a good long time. It's nice to have in your pocket, especially if your fingers start getting colder, they get wet and get wind on them. They can get cold real quick. You need to tie something, you start losing feeling in your fingers, stick them in your pocket, warm them up for a little bit, you're good to go. So that, like I said, when it's fishing when you're cold, yeah, the fish sometimes don't want to bite, but it's even harder when you're focused just on staying warm instead of trying to catch fish. Just a little baby, but boy, he actually just tore after that bait, just smoked it hard. Boom. Giant bass if you hold it like that close to the camera. Boom, baby. That's a nice one. That one just came up and inhaled it. You know, like I said though, you definitely want to slow down when you start catching fish in the fall because, like I said, a lot of times they're going to group up in that area. For whatever reason they're there. Generally it's because there's bait fish around. But you definitely want to slow down. You end up putting fish like that in the boat. Here, I wasn't sure what I had because it wasn't really fighting, just dead weight. That's why I was hooked down by the gill. On the bank, I threw it and almost must have hit as soon as it hit the water almost, because I thought I had grass. Started pulling, it was just kind of spongy, and all of a sudden my line started going sideways. It's kind of skinny, but yeah, another nice fish. It's worth braving the snow for. All right, so I'm not sure if those last couple fish catches made it on camera or not. It was starting to get pretty dark outside. I actually fished right up until dark, where I almost couldn't see anymore and used my GPS mainly to get in. So yeah, I obviously didn't give you guys the information on how I was catching the fish, and that's what I'm here to do. I started out, I kind of was just running your average fall pattern. A lot of times this time of year when you get the water in the mid-50s like that, fish are going to be moving towards the backs of creeks and bays up here in the Northwoods. So what I did is started on the outside of him and worked my way in. That first fish came about midway back in the middle of a bay. It's kind of a small one, but pretty much every other fish I caught was on the outside edges of the bays. I went back in a couple of them quite a bit further, all the way to the back, and I didn't find the fish back there. They're all kind of in that transition, whether they're either going into or coming out of, but they're on the outside edges of those bays and creeks. Once I had figured out they're on the outside edges of the bays, that's kind of what I stuck to. I mean, yeah, I could go in the backs of all of them, and you might catch a few other fish, but I didn't have a whole lot of time. So I wanted to fish what was good, I knew was good, and that I could replicate in different areas. Now, there were 2 decent ones that were an exception to that. They're on a little offshore piece of structure out away from the bank a little bit, but it was kind of in between another good summer deep structure spot and the bank. So the reason I hit that up is, 1, I was close to it, and 2, I thought maybe if there's some of those fish still transitioning, they might be moving up to that en route to get to the bank. As far as the baits that I was using to catch these fish, you know, I had a whole pile of rods up on the deck just because I didn't know what to expect, and a lot of times that happens this time of year. You know, the fish can kind of scatter. Even though you're looking at the water temp, sometimes the fish don't always follow what they're supposed to be doing. So, you know, I had a bunch of rods pulled out. I was going to try a bunch of different things, and I hadn't been to that lake for a while either, so that kind of played into it as well. You know, once you kind of get on the fish and know what they're doing and where they are, you're going to know how to pinpoint those fish a little bit better, where I was just kind of starting from scratch. So, like I said, I had a bunch of rods pulled out on the deck, but 2 caught, I think they caught every fish. And the first one being this big bladed spinnerbait that I like to throw. This is a monster blade, guys. This is actually off a musky bait. I don't know if they even make these anymore, but this is a Terminator Oklahoma blade. And what I really like about this bait is you can move it very, very slow and still keep it up so you can fish shallow with it. Just provides an insane amount of vibration. I actually did a whole video on this bait. I'm gonna have a link to it up above. It's probably down below as well if you want some more information on it. As far as the equipment goes that I was using to throw that, this is the St. Croix Legend Tournament Bass Dock Sniper. It's a heavy power, fast action rod, and you really need that big stick because this blade has so much drag in the water. If you don't have that heavy power when you go to set the hook, your rod will just double over, and it's because of the blade itself. You're hardly putting any hook into the fish. I've lost a lot of fish using a lighter power rod, and this rod is just about perfect for it. It's got enough tip, you can cast it really nice. It's 7 foot, so it's not like super long or anything like that. But I had that paired up with some Suffix 50-pound braid and the Daiwa Tatula SV. Now the SV spool is super nice. If you guys have thrown spinnerbaits before, obviously when that blade catches air, especially with the bigger ones like Colorado blade or Oklahoma blade, you know, you'll hear it spool up kind of in the air and do that funny sound, and it almost always equates into a backlash. Well, when you have a monster blade like this, it catches a whole lot more air. So having that SV spool in this reel really helps tame almost all the backlash. It's pretty impressive that way. But that one I had in a little perch color, and that caught the first couple fish, and then they all of a sudden stopped hitting it as good as what they were when I first started. You know, those first couple fish just inhaled it, and then I just started getting little bumps on it. And that's when I ended up picking up the other bait that caught the majority of the fish that day. And this is a little Excalibur square bill. They don't make these anymore. It was an XCS 100. Probably my favorite square bill. It's a silent version. Replaced the hooks on it a couple times just because I've worn them out. Obviously you can see it's pretty beat up. I believe this was a Tennessee shad color. Alright, so that square bill I was throwing on the St. Croix Legend Tournament Bass small cranker rod. This rod's 7.2 medium moderate. Now that means it's got plenty of play in the tip. It's really nice to cast, especially those smaller square bills on. It really just flings them right out there. As well as having that soft action really helps keep the hooks in the fish. You know, crankbaits are notorious for pulling out. This will help keep a lot more pin. Not saying that you're never going to lose a fish, but you definitely have a better shot at getting them in. I was throwing that on 12-pound test, Berkeley 100% fluorocarbon. This is clear. I also like to use green as well. And then I also had that paired up with the Johnny Morris Signature Series. This is one of the old elite ones. And 7.1 to 1. Now, obviously I'm not just burning that square bill anymore like you do sometimes in the summer. You really want to kind of slow it down, but this is a great setup for doing that. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about fall fishing in this video and where to find the fish. Fall can always be a challenging time for a lot of people because you can fish for a long time and not even get a bite. And people think fish disappeared and, you know, they just don't bite. Well, the thing is, they tend to be more grouped up in the fall. So you can fish for a long time covering a lot of water, and all of a sudden you catch one and they're just stacked there. So make sure you guys don't give up, keep working hard. Check out some of those places. Like I said, the openings of the bay, start working your way to the back, or a creek. Great place to find fish. And usually when you find them in one place, you can replicate that throughout other bays and other creeks as well. It's not always going to be guaranteed, but you can cover those high percentage areas and fish that pattern and have a whole lot better chance of catching fish. Now, depending on the weather and the time of year, those fish can move throughout the day. So if you stop catching them on one pattern, try going a little bit deeper into the bays or come out a little bit further. But like I said, just keep plugging away. You guys are going to catch them. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them below, and check out some of my other videos while you're here. And until next time, guys, God bless and good luck on the water.